Now, I did not read the book, so I cannot check its authenticity or determine how loyal it is to the original material. But what I can say with confidence is I really like this movie. Hey everyone, my name is Max Aaron James. This is a review of the movie Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, based on the novel by Judy Blume, written for the screen and directed by Kelly Fremon Craig, stars Rachel McAdams, Kathy Bates, Abby Ryder-Fortson, Al Graham, and Benny Safdie. The movie is about an 11-year-old girl who deals with what an 11-year-old may deal with when their parents decide to move out of the city as they adjust to a new home, new friends, a new school, new environment, while at the same time dealing with adolescence and going through puberty. The movie's runtime is just under 2 hours, and I did feel it a bit, maybe because I did not know what the story entailed, what was going to happen, or what events would happen, or what points were going to be touched throughout the story. And even with that, I was worried about it dragging or hitting a wall. And luckily for me, that never happened. I have heard of the book in the past, and I have friends who have been assigned it. I know it's been assigned to certain classrooms, but personally, I have never read it, and I do not see myself reading it in the future, even though I really enjoyed this story here. I know Judy Blume has been given a lot of criticism, or has been criticized because of being very frank and direct with women, or directly girls, and the female anatomy, dealing through puberty and how to get comfortable, how a girl would be comfortable or uncomfortable with her body. Although I understand some people may get uncomfortable with it, I do think, and depending on the circumstances and situations, these conversations are very important to have and are not often had, especially when it comes to the female anatomy. Although I have not had the experience myself, I do think it is important to have these discussions, and I do appreciate Judy Blume for being one of the few who is able to publicly do it, even with the criticisms brought to her. There are a few messages or a few ideas presented in this story, and at no point did it get messy, for me at least. A lot of them intertwine with one another and transition well from one to the next. Overall, at its core, it is about childhood and dealing and adjusting with friends, family, religion, and becoming the person that you may eventually become. In the end, I think everything came together very well. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the set design. I enjoyed the costume design. I enjoyed the stories. I think every actor here played their part very well, even if some actors or some characters were not on screen as much as maybe I would have preferred. The chemistry amongst the actors was felt, and the directing by Craig was very well done. I do like the chemistry between McAdams and Safdie as the parents. It did feel like they were an actual couple, actual parents to Fortson's character, and I like their interaction with one another. They did have the casual arguments, the discussions and disagreements. Even when they disagreed, it did not always lead to a heavy or aggressive debate, and oftentimes they had each other's back, and I really liked that about these parents, and it did not come off as parents that I see often in stories, in novels, shows, or movies where they cling on more so with their parents or other people, and they end up being at odds with one another. And it was sweet, and I liked that. It felt like a genuine exchange and an authentic relationship between the two. Kathy Bates, as often, either plays a fun and happy aunt. Here she plays a fun and charismatic grandmother who is very caring of Margaret. And here I did enjoy what she did bring to the character and to the movie. So when she was on screen, it was always interesting. I was prepared for her to say something funny or do something funny, and I enjoy her. I really like seeing Bates in movies in general. The child actors were phenomenal. Elle Graham, who plays Nancy, the leader of the girls' friend group, she did very well. She was more in the first half of the movie than the second half. She slowly faded, her character faded as the focus became on Margaret and her family. But Nancy was fun. It was good. It was funny. It felt like an actual child, right? As far as the writing and the dialogue, right? These are conversations that you have with friends, even if they are in private, and a lot of the conversations the children had amongst each other felt like actual, or reminded me of a lot of conversations I had when I was a child with friends that were very cringeworthy, very innocent and ignorant, and just feeling as if you know everything while also relying on your parents to be there for you and to be the caregivers. And so I really enjoyed it, and acting like you knew what you were talking about when it came to certain things. It really felt like I was watching 11-year-olds be kids and act mature and like adults wanting to grow up, almost to the point of feeling I was invading in their privacy with their private conversations, to where it kind of felt uncomfortable. Especially me being a cis man, and the conversations the girls were having in regards to their body and things they were talking about, but did not feel uncomfortable to the point I wanted to just zone out or shut it off. It just more in the sense of, wow, this is something I've maybe never been, these are the conversations I've never been privy to being growing up a boy, and not something I would have expected to have necessarily conversations of, and more of just being ignorant to it, and not always not many people being open to having these discussions, so I do not hear it often. So it was not point to that point of uncomfortability. It was more, wow, this is interesting that these conversations happen, although I'm not at all surprised. More of pretty intrigued, or surprised. Surprised wouldn't be the word. Just seeing it presented in a movie or even a story or novel may not have been common. And so seeing that, I am impressed with them being comfortable with doing that and presenting that to a wide audience. Everyone across the board gave a compelling performance, especially Graham and Fortson as the children, Nancy and Margaret. They really hit their emotional beats, and I felt it, and it felt again like children. It felt like parents who were really having these very personal and often uncomfortable discussions with their child, with their parents, and having to recognize, or them acknowledging, that their partner is just as important in their life, and having to approach or certain discussions or topics such as religion or way of life, puberty, people that your child may be interested in, and financial decisions and work decisions, and having those discussions, as uncomfortable as they may be. And it felt very authentic. And although a lot of these felt very normal, everyday, common conversations that are not always publicly acknowledged or discussed amongst other people, it did not feel boring, right? It was still interesting and presented in a very interesting way, worth putting in a story, worth putting in a movie, much better than a lot of other movies I've seen recently. I do kind of wish I did not see the trailer, because one of the funniest scenes was in the trailer. I will not say what it is in case you have not seen the trailer, in case you were fortunate enough never to have come across it. But overall, again, I had fun. It was funny. There were funny beats and funny moments, and I think that the trailer does not tell too much of the story if you have not read it before. Overall, I'm very happy I watched this movie. It is a feel-good movie that has something that everyone can take from it. Until next time, y'all take care of each other. Check up on one another. Check up on yourself. Remember, potential has no limit, and I highly recommend you check out this movie.